this is Chase Utley, and this is the Phillies Show.
Ruben Amaro Jr., Jim Salisbury, Todd Zolecki. It's the Philly Show. It's Wednesday, October 1st, 2025, Jim.
Red October has arrived. The moment we've been pointing to since Phillies were eliminated last fall, since day one of spring training, it's kind of all that has mattered for this team. Get back to October and see where it goes.
Everybody's excited about the Phillies, and guess what? We have a guest today, Jim, that we never would have imagined would be on our show when we first started this little podcast in March of 2024. We've got Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro. It's time for the Parks First Pitch. First Pitch is brought to us exclusively by our partners at Parks Casino, Pennsylvania's #1 casino. Jim, the governor is a hardcore Phillies fan. He's not one of these guys that watches a game every once in a while, kind of follows it. We talked to him, you, Ruben, and I, and he knew everything that was going on with this team.
He sure did. Fun interview, really fun guy. Great to talk to him. Knows his sports, loves his sports. I was very impressed with his passion, his knowledge of baseball and the Phillies. He talked about some of their trade deadline acquisitions, how they've worked out well. And, obviously a big fan, went to the vet with his dad as a kid and his brother, and did a little pitching in youth ball. And also was very, curious to hear some of his thoughts about the Pittsburgh Pirates. Obviously, he is the governor of Pennsylvania. There's two major league teams in this state. The Phillies are kind of at the top end of the food chain, and the Pirates are at the low end. And he had some thoughts on that, and some thoughts on Paul Skeens. He's been to PNC Park like all of us. He loves it. So it was interesting to hear his thoughts on the Pirates as well. But he's going to be watching Red October very keenly. He's a legit baseball fan, a legit Phillies fan.
Yeah, it was cool to ask him about throwing out the first pitches. It was just something that, not everybody gets to do, but there's a lot of pressure on you, Jim, when you throw out a first pitch. I don't care if you're the president. I remember President Bush years ago throwing a perfect strike. He had a great arm. I don't care if you're a governor or a mayor or if you're an actor or a musician. If you throw out a bad first pitch, Jim, it lives on forever. So it was fun. He's done that before, so it was fun talking about that as well. So a lot of good stuff in this episode.
You got it. And that was First Pitch, presented exclusively by our partners at Parks Casino, Pennsylvania's #1 casino. ParksCasino.com is the website. You must be 21, and if you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
AJ, let's talk steaks. Omaha Steaks, to be precise. Big discounts we'll tell you about coming up in just a sec on the website, but also every steak is perfectly aged to maximize tenderness and hand-cut by master butchers in America's heartland. It's been around since 1917. They know what they're doing.
Absolutely, they know what they're doing. They come prepackaged, perfect sizes, portion size. You can get any kind of cut you want, any kind of meat you want, and it all comes out delicious. You can freeze it. You can thaw it right away. There's hamburgers, there's steaks, there's chicken, there's pork chops, there's everything you could ever want, and it comes out delicious every time.
Save big with Omaha Steaks. Visit omahasteaks.com for 50% off site-wide and an extra 20% off select favorites during their early Black Friday sale. And for an extra $35 off, use promo code FOUL at checkout. Terms apply. See site for details. That's 50% off at omahasteaks.com. Promo code FOUL at checkout. Terms apply. See site for details.
Governor, thank you so much for joining the Philly Show. How are you, sir?
Man, I'm excited. It's Red October, baby. I'm ready.
So where are you? You are a huge Phillies fan. We know this. Where are you watching Game 1 on Saturday? We don't know who they're playing. We don't know what time. Do you have plans? Can you make plans?
Yeah, hard for me to make plans. It all usually gets screwed up with events that happen. But I think my understanding is, I've been looking at this. There's like a 1 p.m. and 7 p.m.
Yep.
I'll find out and then figure out what I'm going to do. But, man, I'd love to be down at the bank. If not, I'll be on the couch with my kids watching the game.
That's
So
fantastic.
tell us a little bit about your Philadelphia sports fandom, like favorite team, favorite player. Do you remember your first trip to the vet? Things like that.
Yeah. Man, my dad and I used to sit on the third base line at the vet and going to the game. You guys there? Did I lose
Yep.
you?
We got you.
Lost us for a second. We got you.
Yeah. I mean, to me, there was nothing more special than going down to the game with my dad, fighting traffic on the Schuylkill, racing in to get into your seat in time for the first pitch, and sitting there on the third base line, watching the greatest third baseman in the history, maybe of baseball, but certainly for the Phils, Michael Jack Schmidt. And then to have that experience, just sitting with my pop there, watching the Phillies play. And then when we'd head back out, I never forget this. You go back out to the car, you pass the guy with the shopping cart and the soft pretzels out there that are wet for some reason. I don't know why, but they were delicious. You grab the bag of pretzels, you get in the car with your dad and you ride home. So, I mean, to me, growing up in that era with Mike Schmidt, with Lefty, it was just like an amazing time to be a Phillies fan. And then, of course, we lived through the lean years, which my kids don't remember. My kids just know the Phillies since they've been hot again with the Utley, Howard, that era, and now, of course, the present day. But I lived through those lean years after the early 80s.
So did Mike Schmidt or any of the players ever flip you a baseball? Did you ever have that moment by any chance? Or get any foul balls or anything?
One time my dad got hit in the eye with a ball. He was like bleeding out and we had to leave the game. And I was like, like a little bummed we had to leave the game, but more worried about my dad, and he was fine. But no, we didn't even get to keep the ball. Some other fan grabbed the ball.
Phillies
Good thing that didn't happen today. That would have ended up on somebody's Twitter feed or something.
Probably, yeah.
But Governor, somebody told me this, and you got to tell me if this is true or not, that growing up, you guys had a couple seats to Connie Mack Stadium in your basement. Is that true, or is this a total rumor?
Totally true, but it wasn't me. It was my brother. My brother found 3 seats from Connie Mack Stadium in a buddy's garage. And the buddy didn't want it. He was just trying to throw stuff out of his garage. So my brother got them refurbished or whatever you do. And they are now in his house. I'm actually pissed my brother got them and I didn't, because that would have been pretty special.
That would have been absolutely fantastic.
Did you play as a kid? Were you an athlete of any sort?
Yeah, I played. My 2 sports were baseball and basketball, and I was a pitcher on like our local travel team, and pretty good pitcher. Now my dad is a pediatrician, so he was always like, I see too many kids come in to throw their elbows out, so he never wanted to let me throw a curveball. But he taught me how to throw a fastball and a split finger fastball. So I get a little bit of move on the split finger fastball without compromising the elbow. And I got to tell you, some of the best moments, best memories of me as a kid growing up is my dad, who was a catcher and a left fielder at Central High School, right fielder, at Central High School.
Really?
He would go and like in the backyard, squat down kind of just next to a tree that like kind of a very straight tree we had in the backyard. So the tree would simulate the batter, and I would pitch, and he'd go to on either side of that tree based on lefty or righty.
Oh, that's really cool.
Hitter. Yeah, it's pretty special. So I mean, I was fine. I was pretty good. Made the All-Star team a couple times in our local league, but always loved baseball and just been a diehard Phillies fan even in the tough years.
What do you like about baseball? What kind of got you hooked as a kid, besides your dad being a baseball guy?
I just think, and look, I think this is true of other sports as well. And I talk about it here in my job a lot. The beauty of a team sport, baseball, and I'm a hoops guy, right? Basketball, the Sixers, whatever. We'll talk about that some other time. The beauty of a championship team is every single player has a unique role to play. And if just one of those players is off, one of those players isn't carrying their load, they're not going to win the championship. Right. And so I think about the work I do here as governor. I'm blessed with this amazing team, right? The senior team of folks I work with. And I could have a great day, but if they don't do their job, we're not going to be successful for the people of Pennsylvania. Likewise, if they go do their jobs really well, but I go out and I don't sort of pull my weight, we're not going to be successful. So I talk about our work as a team sport. I'm a member of this team. I get to make the decisions at the end of the day, right? But I can't do it without them around me. So to me, baseball in many ways is that analogy for life, for work. Everybody's got to do their part. No one can be successful on their own. You got to lean on other people around you. And I think baseball just has a beautiful way of doing that.
So
to me, it's also, I'm sorry, guys.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, just also for me as a fan, I don't know, and I love sports. I don't know that there is a better sport to watch in person, in the stands, surrounded by other fans than baseball. I just think it's an amazing thing. And for me now, as a dad, father of 4 kids, to be able to now do what my dad did with me is pretty cool.
So how would you describe your leadership when you talk about that and people pulling their weight? Would you feel that you're a autonomous guy? Do you allow them to do their jobs? Are you on top of them? Do you helicopter? How do you go about your daily?
So I believe in hiring people who have skills that I don't have, knowledge that I don't have, different perspectives than me. By the way, guys, sometimes different parties than me, like a political party than me. Because what I want to do when it's time to make a big decision is I don't want to sit behind my desk. I've got this beautiful ornate desk that I'm privileged to sit behind as the 48th governor here in Pennsylvania. I don't sit behind that with my team. I sit behind a conference table where we all look at one another, where everybody is at the same level, same height, and where we argue and where people challenge me. And, folks tell me what their opinion is, even if it's different than mine. I like an environment like that where folks feel comfortable, standing up and speaking their mind based on the experience that they have. Now, look, folks know at the end of the day, when you got to make a tough decision, I'm the final decision maker here, right? People in Pennsylvania elected me to do that work. But I believe in that around the table. And then once we leave the table and everybody goes off to do their thing to execute on the plan that we put in place, I trust them to do their jobs. And you know what? I've got, I think, the best team in the entire country doing this work. I got their backs, they got mine. And that's the way I try and lead, by empowering people, by trusting the people around me, by having the people around me challenge me. I joke with my chief of staff. She and I have worked together for over a dozen years. I got 80,000 employees here in Pennsylvania. I'm still waiting for that one employee that's just going to tell me yes all the time. She won't let me hire that person. So I just really believe in people that are going to challenge you. I think that's important.
That sounds exactly like when we sit and talk about the draft. We have guys sitting around and just have an argument and then make a final decision, or decisions about being at the trade deadline, things like that. So that's really cool. That's a really cool thing to hear.
What did you think about the Phillies at the trade deadline? They got Joan Duran, they got Harrison Bader. What do you think of the Durantula experience? Have you watched it on TV?
Yeah, it's insane. I actually wish I would have been at a game where it happened. I want to be there when the lights go off and the phones come out and everything. I've watched on TV. It's unbelievable. My kids, I get so pumped when he's coming out. Look, he's been lights out, and I think he's been a difference for this team. Just mentally knowing you're going into the 9th, you may only be up 3-2, but you're locked in, and this guy's going to come in and hopefully with only 4, 5, 6, 7 pitches, get a few ground balls, strikeouts, whatever, and get out of the game with that W. I think he's been a difference maker. Now, he's not a guy who's gone deep in the playoffs before, so we've not seen him in October. I hope that he's able to continue on the great success he's had. Bader, I think, has been great, right? For 2 reasons. One, we needed some strength in the outfield. Not so much defensively, although he's a really good defensive player, but we need a little bit more behind the plate. He's also just brought that spirit to this team, the excitement to this team. And when you look at the teams that go deep into October and into November, they got a chip on their shoulder, right? They're playing aggressively and they're having fun. And so I love Bader being on this team because I think he brings a lot of that together with guys like Marsh and others who just have a really good spirit. I feel really, really good about this team. I worry a little bit because, of course, I'm a Phillies fan. I get neurotic. I'm very worried about these 6 days where they're not playing, and you don't want to lose that. And we've seen this now over the last couple of years. You got a team that's a wild card team that gets hot, gets in the playoffs, gets on a run, and then you got the other team that's kind of been sitting around for 6 days. So I worry about that a little bit. And I'm kind of a little bit worried about Cincinnati. I mean, they got hot. They snuck in. Ellie De La Cruz is a pretty sick player. And, they're kind of playing with house money at this point. So I don't know if they're good enough to get past the Dodgers, but I just want us to maintain the edge, maintain that chip on our shoulder, continue to have fun, stay in it. And you just worry with those 6 days off.
Parks Casino, it is my casino of choice, and they have it all: action, excitement, headline, entertainment. Plus, if you live in central or northern Jersey or even in New York, the closest live tables are at Parks Casino off exit 6 of the Jersey Turnpike. Parks Casino, Pennsylvania's #1 casino, play thousands of hot slots, state-of-the-art sports book, a beautiful poker room, the Liberty Bell Beer Garden, and a collection of award-winning restaurants. Tons of places to go eat. Parks Casino, this is how you win. Tickets are on sale now for all of these headliners. Now listen to this. Just announced, coming November 26th, comedian Joey Diaz. You have September 26th, The Revivalists. September 27th, comedian Russell Peters. October 4th, Kansas. The 24th, Everclear. The 25th, Almost Queen. And then the 21st, Air Supply, man. Remember that? You're all out of love, man. You're all out of love. No, November 22nd is comedian Brian Regan. ParksCasino.com to buy tickets for all these shows. Parks Casino, this is how you win. You must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
So, Governor, sports and politics probably have some things in common. You win some, you lose some. You got to keep trying, keep competing. John Middleton calls you up and says, "Hey, Governor, I want you to come down and address our boys before they start Red October." You know, they've gotten knocked out 3 years in a row. They've had some good showings, but haven't gotten the big prize yet. What's your message to this team in that pep talk?
Well, look, I love John. I don't know that he would ever invite me to do that, but if he did, that would be a thrill, man. I'll tell you about when he invited me to throw the first pitch out. I think it was last year at one of the playoff games. But honestly, it would be really brief. I'd just go in there and say, play for each other and have fun. I mean, this is a team that's got all the skills they need to win a World Series. They got the bats, they got the arms, they got everything they need to win a World Series. They don't need more pressure. They got to have fun, and they got to remember they're playing for one another. And so they got to pick one another up. Inevitably, when someone's bat gets a little bit cold, they got to be there for that guy, and they got to lift him back up. So that's probably all I would say.
What do you think the biggest strength of this team is so far, Governor?
Man, I just think 1 through 9, I don't know that there's a better lineup in baseball if we stay hot. If you'd have told me months ago that with a struggling Nola and no Wheeler, I'd be praising our starting pitching, you'd probably thought I was crazy and just being a homer. But the reality is, these 4 guys, I think, can go deep. I think our bullpen, which used to make me so nervous every time they'd come in, we got enough to get us through the 6th, 7th, and 8th inning if we need to get to Duran. So I feel strong really in every place, every position. Topper knows what he's doing. I mean, he's been there. I think these guys know what they're doing, which is why, back to what I'd say if I was in the clubhouse with them, just have fun and play for each other because they got the skills. They just got to go and be loose and have fun.
You mentioned throwing out the first pitch a couple of years ago. I think it was game 3 of the 23 NLDS.
I think that's right. Yeah.
So, and the first pitch went well. Not that I remember it, but the fact that I don't see it on the internet all the time means it was a decent, solid first pitch.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. It's so funny because I get there. First off, like, what an honor, right? And I get there and they're like, "Governor, we'll put you in the green room and you can wait here." And I'm like in this small room, which was very nice, but I'm like, I need to, like, I'm in a suit, man. I got to loosen up. I got to like throw the ball a couple times. So I go into the tunnel there and threw the ball a couple times to a former Philly, and they're like, "You're good." I'm like, "I don't think I'm good yet. Let me loosen up a little bit more." And then I get, out on the field and I'm there with my wife and kids. And look, I don't want to pat myself on the back, but like I've done pretty well politically in Philadelphia, right? Like this is a community that supports me. and they announce me, and there's a ton of people booing. And my wife looks at me and she's like, I thought these people like you. I'm like, they do, but they don't think I'm going to throw a strike. And they're getting on me before I even get out there because these are Philly fans. I love it. So I get out there, and I had a couple things. I was prepared to throw from the mound, but they don't let you throw from the mound, as you know. So it's a little shorter. And I had a massive target because the Fanatic was playing catcher. So I'm like, I'm going to be fine. Plus, I still play with my kids a lot. So I threw a strike, and then everybody cheered. So I said to my wife, I was like, see? And then it didn't make it on the internet because I didn't embarrass myself.
So
I got good advice. I got good advice at an Erie Seawolves game a few years ago. They said, nobody's got a clock on you. All they can see is that it goes straight. So if you got to lollipop it a little bit, as long as it goes straight, you do not need to bring the heat. So that was the best advice I got.
So more nervous prior to that pitch or during election day?
Oh, no question, during the pitch. Yeah, without question. I mean, there are a few things that make me nervous. Like, I've gotten up, you speak in front of tens of thousands of people. You stand for election with 13 million, but you do all this stuff. And I love what I do. I hope you know that. I really do. I don't get nervous before I do that stuff. Walking out at the bank, throwing that first pitch. And by the way, I've done it at PNC Park in Pittsburgh, totally different dynamic. You don't feel that same level of pressure as Phillies fans put on you. And I got to tell you, I love it. I mean, I just think Philly fans they're awesome the way they challenge you and they make you better.
Well, speaking of, you mentioned PNC Park, beautiful place, gorgeous,
amazing.
I was going to ask you if you follow the Pirates as a baseball fan. You follow the Pirates at all, and
I do.
What's got to happen out there to get them playing better? Because you know when you were a kid, the Pirates and the Phillies had a really great rivalry.
Yeah. And look, they're an iconic franchise, and they've got an incredible history. And by the way, if you've never been to PNC Park, an amazing ballpark. And I encourage anybody to go there. I mean, it's just, particularly if you're sitting sort of behind home plate or at the beginning of the first or third base line, I guess the end of the third base line, beginning of the first base line. So you're looking out in the outfield. It's just a gorgeous ballpark. I mean, look, it is tough, I think, today for small market or mid-market teams to be able to compete where you've got the Mets, who very happy they didn't make the playoffs, spending stupid money, the Dodgers, the Yankees, right? And by the way, even Mr. Middleton, who's been amazing about investing in this team beyond sort of what the market would dictate, right? Because he wants to win. He's desperate to win. You got these small market teams, right? Whether it's a Pittsburgh, a Cincinnati, Tampa, you name it. And they're in a tough spot because they're not generating the same kind of revenue as a team in LA or New York or even Philly is. But they can't compete when, their payrolls, I think the Pirates are somewhere in the 80s or something like that. You got to be able to get that up. Otherwise, how are you going to compete against a $300+ million, salary for another team? I would like to see Bob Nutting invest more in that team. I'd like to see baseball invest more in these small market teams. I worry if at the end of the day, we really only have these big market teams able to compete, or owners who are willing to kind of spend an irrational amount. I mean that with the utmost respect to John Middleton, because guy wants to win, and I love that about him. But I worry about baseball if we can't figure out these small market teams, because you're really going to just end up with the same 5, 6, 7, 8 clubs competing every year. And that's not fair. And that's not good for baseball. It's not good for fans.
Yeah. I mean, they got a guy like Paul Skeens who's going to win the Cy Young. He's so exciting. And there's actually chatter that maybe they have to trade him. Maybe he's the next Garrett Cole. Maybe he's not going to wear a Pirates uniform for his entire career. And there's something that's kind of sad about that. It's
totally sad for a guy like that who seemingly loves Pittsburgh, and God knows Pittsburgh loves him. I mean, it's amazing, right? I want to be able to keep a guy like that. You think about all the great pitchers that have been able to stay with their ball clubs for basically their entirety of their career, maybe with the exception of a last year or two. I want that for Paul Skeens. I want him to be able to be in Pittsburgh. And by the way, God bless him. I want him to make all the money that he should make in this environment, the endorsement deals, the salary, all that stuff. And you worry if you have a group of teams that are in these smaller markets who can't put together the dollars needed to keep a guy like Skeens or to land a big free agent or to do just what we did at the trade deadline with a Bader or a Duran. I know they weren't in a position to win, but we were in a position to spend some money. I want Pittsburgh to be able to do that. And listen, there's some shared burden here, right? Nutting's got burden on him to invest, and baseball's got to figure out how to prop up these teams as well in these smaller markets.
Well, Governor, thanks so much for the time. One last one, and I'll let you go. I don't know, this is probably an ignorant question, but say the Phillies get to the World Series and they're playing the Mariners. Do governors make bets on World Series like mayors do? Like, do you call up the governor of Washington, or do you got, I'm trying to think within the American League, you call the governor of New York if the Yankees are put something on the line, make it interesting?
Yeah, without question. I mean, so I've been fortunate to be governor during 2 Super Bowls for the Birds. And so I've bet the governor of Missouri, but then we also did a side bet with the governor of Kansas too. Not only do I do a bet, I talk so much shit. Like, you have no idea the level of shit talking I do. And so that was a little hard with the Eagles' first Super Bowl, but I got it back last year. No, look, I'll give you, very seriously, like, first off, I'm a fan. I love this. Second, I'm proud as hell to represent this state. And I think sports is such a unifying force in our state. And I don't want to be political at all. In fact, I love that we're not talking about politics, but I think you'll agree with me on this. There's so much division in our world right now. And people have honestly held views that kind of make them like that. There are still a few languages that bring people together and allow people who are different to have meaningful conversations. I think sports is one. I think food is another. I think the outdoors, right? Just experiencing the outdoors and music or others. And, case in point, go down to the bank, wander up in the stands, just sit down. And inevitably, you're going to be sitting between 2 people who have really different views than you, or different views than the other across from you. And yet you are going to be totally comfortable sitting there, bag of peanuts in your hand, a soda, talking about the Phils, and feeling like, you know what, those differences just kind of melt away. And so I think that there's a beauty in sports. And when you see a team like the Phillies, and by the way, the Birds too, who are doing so well, it lifts up a community because they speak to everybody. They just make everybody feel good. So I not only love it as a fan, I love it as the leader of this state, because it brings people together. It excites people and allows people who otherwise wouldn't be having conversations to have those conversations. And man, I just love it. I love it.
Well, that's awesome. Well, Governor, thanks so much for joining us. We had a great time talking to you. Maybe we'll see you at the bank in October. Maybe we'll see you throw out a first pitch. So get the arm ready.
I'll be getting ready. I'll limber up, guys. And by the way, I don't want to jinx anything, but we're going to do very well this year. I won't say anything more than that. And then next year, amazing when the All-Star game comes to Philly at the bank.
Yeah, we're
That's going to be awesome. Big baseball time for us. Guys, I'm huge fans of yours. Thanks for having me on, and go Phils.
Jim, that was great. We loved having Governor Shapiro on. That was a lot of fun. I just want to give everybody a heads up, a reminder, the PhilliesShowShop.com is now open. We've been selling some hoodies because it is getting to be fall. A lot of cool stuff there. Scan the QR code on your screen or just visit the PhilliesShowShop.com. We will be back later this week. We're planning on a couple more shows this week talking Phillies because it is Red October, Jim. So everybody's excited. We don't know who they're playing yet. It'll be the Dodgers or the Reds. I'll talk to you later, Jim.
Absolutely. A lot of fun, and I'll smell you later.
Smell you.
The Philly Show is brought to you by the Foul Territory Network. Subscribe to The Philly Show on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts.